How can you not appreciate the view? I have to sit here and do some sort of video out here. This is the content that we do, and today we're going to talk about how 40k needs the orcs that D&D have now. Oh my god, this post is blowing up online. I think it was supposed to be satirical and joking, but they're not, but they are, but they're not, but they're joking. I don't know, you tell me. Does 40k deserve the Dungeons and Dragons treatment? I think not. 40k in their own rights have their own sort of unique story, and that's why everyone is drawn to it. That's why everyone was drawn to Dungeons and Dragons, because it laid out a set of rules, and it was, in times, it can be very cruel, which life really is. And that's the difference with a lot of these storytelling aspects of fantasy and fandoms. They tell you a deeper truth of what's going on in the world. Reality is not always set in stone. It's always ever changing. And unfortunately, fantasy, they're trying to control fantasy to the point where you just don't know what it is anymore. You know, there's a lot of posts about how, oh, you're a tourist, you should be sharing your hobby, and you should be sharing your Dungeons and Dragons and your video games and share with everyone. Well, that's the thing. They've all been shared. Everyone was allowed to come to the table. Everyone was allowed to sit there and enjoy it, just like how we're going to enjoy this absolutely gorgeous view. I am in a harbor next to the ocean right now, and this water is like looking at glass. You see the reflection of what's going on. But the second you add more people into the water, every new wave is what's changing with these games and these fantasy novels, and just the general sense of it being. Ripple, every wave that we see in video games, in fantasy, in Dungeons and Dragons, is a new person trying to change the way it is instead of just enjoying the scenery. How can you not just enjoy it? How can you not just appreciate what these things once were? Like Japanese anime in itself, you know, and I'm glad a lot of them are standing up and saying we're not going to change it for a Western audience or a modern audience, because what is the modern audience at this point? It's someone that sits there, bitches and whines and says, oh, this isn't made for me, I need to see myself in it. Well, if you don't already see yourself in these things, if you're not already drawn to them, then why are you seeking them out? Why are you seeking to destroy something that is amazing and has a fandom and a fan base? This is what gets people really upset. This is why, in particular, One Piece for Netflix, why, if they staying true to the story, why everyone enjoys it, because the original story was good. You know, there's certain little changes, but no one's really bringing those up, and they're saying, you know, and that's One Piece with the anime. It's translating a lot better than we have seen, say, the Cowboy Bebop series that we saw happen on Netflix, where they had to inject politics and everything that we see in Western culture into a Japanese anime story. It just doesn't work, and a lot of things just don't translate. But that's the same thing with Dungeons and Dragons. Now we have what people are describing Mexican orcs. They're no longer about being the ruthless, monstrous creatures they once were. Look at the anime Goblin Slayer as well. You know, you go in and you're destroying goblins. I'm surprised more people aren't up in arms about that, because in all honesty, it's a decent anime, but it takes it back to the roots of what it once was. These were created as monsters, as nightmares. They were created of legend and lore. And now we're taking those nightmares and turning them into something else. And yeah, maybe it's to not be afraid of the world and to mix the reality and fantasy, but there are things to be afraid of. I'm an electrician. I'm scared of everything I do in my job, mainly because it can kill me. And there's a reason to have those fears out there. when you have an invisible energy that sits there in a wire and you just don't know if it's alive or dead without actually testing it first, there's reason for that fear. And that's where the storytelling really comes forward. It more is about how to learn from these aspects of things that just don't exist in the real world. It's teaching a story. You're learning a lesson from it, but now it's all about, oh, don't worry about that lesson. The lessons are gone. It never is about a G.I. Joe story anymore. With the more you know, it's more of, okay, you've already learned everything you need to know in the world, so we're just going to make something that is bland, sterilized, and accepting to the world view. That's why we have to sit there and just appreciate the stories for what they are instead of always changing them. Why people say, oh, you're just a tourist. It's not the same. You know, coffee, you make it every morning, you grind it up, you put it in a pot and add some water to it, and you get this nectar of the gods that sits there and gives you some energy and appreciation of just the finer things in life. It's just beautiful out here. And it really is, once again, you know, you got people, you'll have people out there that tell others, go touch grass. Well, I'm out here touching the water. I'm out here touching life, and it's amazing, and it's nice to know I can do things like this and get away from all of it. But the social media and the discourse that we see online for everything, especially with Dungeons and Dragons and this DEI involvement, it just ruins a good thing. And I think that's why there's a big pushback at this point. People are sick and tired of it. People don't want to change their hobbies to something that it's not. That's the whole problem with it all. Everyone wants their hobby to be their hobby. And if you change it, it no longer is that hobby. It's a changed form to something that's unrecognizable. For what made it good is no longer there. And it turns and twists to something that is just evil. Tolkien with Lord of the Rings, you know, evil only twists and destroy, and that's unfortunately rings true today. Those words are so much more. And when you have to sit there and wonder how much out there is really different, you know, we all sit there and we come from the same sort of idea and same sort of space in the world. And yeah, people have discourse and they want to see things changed, but why? Why can't it just be accepted for who people are, for what it was, for what they are? And that's anything that everyone is asking for, is just to accept who you are, what you are, and how you've been living a life. And now the reality and fantasy is so intertwined right now, no one has an idea on what reality even is anymore, or what fantasy once was. Fantasy, where you got fantastical dragons and wizards and sorcerers, it's no longer about the power of them, it's more of what they look like on the outside. You need to have that cover of the book to reflect yourself instead of for what possibly was inside. And that's the problem. Nothing inside matters anymore. It's everything of the projection and the virtue of what we see on the outside. And it's hollow when you get back to the inside. And that's the problem with everything we see in fantasy right now. Everything we see with video games, what these corporations are doing is just hollowing it out for the lowest bidder. And it's just creating something that no longer will exist. Anyway, I'm your Product Name Phoenix Cindershadow. I'm signing off here. Have yourselves a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you again very, very soon, because I'm doing more videos from Nova Scotia. It's not every day I can enjoy something such as wonders as what we see here today. Have yourselves a great day.